Tropical storm warnings are out from Cape Fear, North Carolina to Fenwick Island, Delaware, as we have a potential tropical cyclone that is forecast to strike North Carolina as a tropical storm over the weekend. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasel with this Thursday evening update on the tropics. There's the system of note right here. It doesn't have a well-defined center yet, but through time, it should become a tropical storm. We also still have Hurricane Nigel moving off into the North Atlantic, probably post-tropical by now, and we have a new system that's starting to develop into a tropical depression near the Cape Verde Islands, and that should move west or west-northwest over the next few days. Now, here's the latest on potential tropical cyclone 16, and the reason why they're issuing advisories is because it's not a tropical depression or a storm yet, but it's within the time period to where we'd need tropical storm warnings, hence why they are issuing the updates. Right now, whatever center there is would be around 29.2 north, 75.9 west, winds of 35, moving north slowly at 8. It should strengthen into a tropical storm sometime by Friday night, and it may remain subtropical. It might not even become fully tropical as it's tangled up on the eastern edge of a deep layer trough moving off the eastern seaboard. However, it should strengthen enough to make landfall as a tropical or subtropical storm of about 50 to 60 miles per hour sometime during the morning on Saturday along the North Carolina coastline, and remain a tropical cyclone all the way in through areas there of Virginia. So tropical storm warnings are in effect from Cape Fear, North Carolina, all the way to the Delaware coastline, including Pamlico Sound, Albemarle Sound, Chesapeake Bay. You guys are in for some gusty and stormy weather as time goes on. Here are the GFS models which take the system straight into North Carolina. Some of them have been strengthening it close to hurricane strength. The European model also in the same region, somewhere between, say, Cape Fear and Cape Hatteras. So again, if you're in Wrightsville Beach, if you're in Wilmington, anywhere, it's not really going to be close to the center. This is going to be a spread out event with rain and gusty winds. Here's the visible satellite imagery as the sun starts to go down. Again, the center would be somewhere in this area here, whatever center there would be. We don't see anything there yet, but through time it should develop a circulation and become a tropical or a subtropical storm. There is a little spin in there. This is common in systems that are in the early stages of developing. Still some wind shear impacting it on this map. The wind shear is definitely a factor, so don't expect it to become a hurricane, or certainly not a strong hurricane, in the off chance that it did become a Category 1. Right now, rainfall appears to be the biggest threat. This area here of North Carolina, Wilmington, Raleigh-Durham, Hatteras, that whole region of eastern North Carolina could receive 4 to 6 inches, isolated amounts higher than that, and that could cause a prolonged flood threat as it moves on up. It's not going to move that quickly, and we have the slight flood risk there and marginal flood risk for areas of North Carolina all the way up into areas there of New England. So again, you could have rainfall from this from Wilmington to Philadelphia and New York as the system pulls onto the north. So this is going to be a wet cyclone. By the way, if and when it gets a name, it will be named Ophelia. Now here's the radar, and we have a lot of moisture that's still offshore. So that's the good news, is we don't think the rainfall is going to impact land yet, but as the system pulls closer, you'll start to see these rain bands come in, and that's why we have that flood threat. Water rises are also going to be an issue. Right now they're thinking as high as 3 to 5 feet for Pamlico rivers and the Neuse River. The rivers and the little bays here, you guys could have high water rises, so it's going to be rough. 2 to 4 feet for Albemarle Sound and the lower Chesapeake Bay, and then anywhere from Surf City all the way to Chincoteague, you guys are at risk of 3, 4, 5 feet of storm surge, especially on the right side where that water flows in around the cyclone. Even with a large, weak tropical storm or a subtropical storm, you can have water rises and beach erosion on top of the rainfall. The key messages from the National Hurricane Center on potential tropical cyclone 16: An area of low pressure is forecast to strengthen and bring tropical storm force winds, storm surge, heavy rain, and high surf to a large portion of the southeast and mid-Atlantic United States beginning Friday, tomorrow, and continuing throughout the weekend. There is a danger of life-threatening surge inundation across eastern North Carolina, southeast Virginia. That includes Pamlico, Albemarle Sounds, and lower Chesapeake Bay. They have storm surge warnings in effect. Listen to your local officials. Tropical storm conditions are expected within portions of the southeast and mid-Atlantic coasts within that tropical storm warning area beginning on Friday, continuing into Saturday. And finally, heavy rainfall could produce localized urban and small stream flooding across the mid-Atlantic states from North Carolina all the way up to New Jersey Friday through Sunday. So again, it looks like a wet weekend there for areas of the mid-Atlantic as we watch this system develop and push on in. We'll keep tabs on it. Hurricane Nigel, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time, was at 43.7 north, way up there, 40.8 west, winds down to 80 miles an hour. It never became a major hurricane. It peaked as a Category 2. It's moving east-northeast at 37. That's refreshing to see after the slow motion of Hurricane Lee. This one got up and out, and we're not going to have to deal with it as it becomes post-tropical. There's the satellite. Notice how the thunderstorms are all away from the center. It doesn't look like a tight tropical cyclone anymore. We won't have to deal with Hurricane Nigel. Now, elsewhere in the tropics, there's our potential tropical cyclone. There goes Hurricane Nigel. This is a high chance for development, an 80% chance through the next 7 days of a tropical wave off Africa, and it looks like a high chance from the Hurricane Center to develop and move generally towards the west. We're going to watch it very carefully. Right now, the computer models, a lot of them do move it to the north. So we could hope, like Lee, like Franklin, like Nigel, this system will bend to the north and move out to sea. But again, some of the models want to bring it a little bit closer to the Caribbean than we like. In fact, this is the European ensembles. Almost all of them turn it as a strong hurricane out to sea, which is great news. However, some of the GFS runs were showing a strong hurricane making it into areas of the Greater Antilles as recently as this morning. So it's backed off that, but the European hasn't been showing that, and now the GFS isn't. So we're pretty hopeful that this system will take that track out to sea similar to Hurricane Nigel. But it could become a hurricane again. By the way, if it is a race for names, the next two names are Ophelia and then Philippe. And we'd see this one into Carolina as Ophelia, and then this one as Hurricane Philippe moving out, hopefully. So that's a possibility. Looking at the satellite right there, this looks like a developing tropical depression. It's blowing up convection. It's got a little work ahead of it, but it can do it, no doubt. This is a very active Cape Verde year with these systems developing in this area and then moving on to the west-northwest. We will watch it and keep you updated. So that'll do it right now for the tropical update. This system off the southeast coast forecast to make landfall in North Carolina. Batten down the hatches. Tropical storm warnings are out from Cape Fear all the way to Delaware. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. I'll talk to you next time.